I'm sharing these experiences to serve as a warning, because the world can turn sinister in seconds, especially when you're alone at night. What follows are 3 encounters that still haunt me, each one a reminder that danger doesn't always look like danger, until it's too late. Encounter 1, the rest stop. This happened in North Carolina. My dad's a truck driver, and I joined him for a few days on the road to get a taste of life behind the wheel. I've been eyeing my CDL for years now. We're from Georgia, southwest. The drive was short, and we arrived the same day. His delivery was scheduled for the early morning hours, around 12 or 1 a.m., so we pulled into a rest area to catch some sleep. The lot was packed with rigs, but the restrooms completely deserted. Most drivers were already out cold, preparing for their own early runs. My dad crashed immediately. I'm a night owl, so I stayed awake scrolling my phone. Around 2 a.m., nature called. I grabbed my razor too, figuring I'd tidy up my mustache while I had the place to myself. I mean, who else would be in there at that hour, right? Big mistake. The restroom has 2 sections, left and right. I walked into the left side and spotted a guy standing near the urinals. Tall dude, easily 6 feet 4 inches. Didn't think twice. I hit the stall, did my business, washed my hands, and noticed he was still standing there. Then, right as I'm about to leave, he unzips and starts using the urinal. Weird timing, but whatever. To make it seem like I'd already left, I slipped over to the right side of the restroom and posted up in front of the mirror. Razor in hand, I start lining up my mustache. 10 seconds later, he walks into that section too. My stomach dropped. Why would he follow me? He already had a urinal on the other side. He starts walking toward me, and the second I pull out my razor, he freezes. This look flashes across his face, shock, like something didn't go according to his plan. My heart's racing now, but I keep my cool. Working as fast as I can without butchering my statch. Through the mirror, I watch him walk to a urinal and pretend to unzip. When I glance at him, he's staring right at me. Empty eyes. Then he nods. I nod back, playing dumb. He disappears into a stall. I look again, he's standing perfectly still in the corner, just staring at me through the gap. Wide eyes. Unblinking. I pretend not to notice. 20 seconds later, he's back at the urinal, faking it again, stealing glances at me. That's when I knew, this wasn't coincidence. This was something else. I finished up and bolted. As I passed him, I kept that razor clutched tight in my hand. I'm 5 feet 9 inches, not small, but this guy had a good 6 inches on me and at least 20 years. He could have snapped me in half. Thank God, he didn't follow me out. I spotted security cameras near the entrance and felt a wave of relief wash over me. My dad was still asleep in the truck, snoring away, completely unaware. I texted a friend what happened. He told me to go back in on FaceTime, which, for some reason, I did. The guy was gone. I walked through, showed my friend where everything went down, and bounced. Outside, I noticed a passenger vehicle lot behind the rest area. One red car had its headlights on, the only car lit up. The second I turned to look, those lights cut off. I couldn't see who was inside. Maybe they were parking. Maybe they were leaving. Or maybe it was him. I never told my dad. He's strict, and I was 17, he'd only just started letting me go out alone. If I told him, I'd be grounded until I turned 18. So I kept it to myself. But to this day, I wonder, what was that guy planning? And what would have happened if I hadn't had that razor? Encounter 2, the subway and the stranger. I'm a woman in my early 20s, born and raised in New York City. Navigating the MTA at any hour is second nature to me. My commute? 2 trains, a 30-minute bus ride, and a dimly lit 5-block walk home. I've done it 1,000 times without thinking twice. But there are 2 nights I'll never forget. The first one happened on the train. I squeezed in right before the doors closed and stood near them, headphones in. I could faintly hear a homeless man mumbling something at me. I ignored him at first, figured he was talking to himself. But he kept staring, burning holes through me. So I pulled out one earbud and asked, "What?" He called me well, let's just say it wasn't pleasant. My blood ran hot. My ears burned, my face flushed. I started scanning the car, desperate to make eye contact with anyone who might acknowledge what was happening. But every single person looked away. Not one held my gaze. The next stop came. I got off, even though it wasn't my stop, and hustled into the next car, praying he wouldn't see where I went. Through the windows, I kept glancing back, waiting for him to follow. 2 stops later, he stepped off. I didn't realize I'd been holding my breath until the doors closed behind him. The second one was in grad school. Night classes ended around 8:30, so by the time I caught the bus, it was well after 10. Late-night rides always feel different, quieter, more unpredictable. I was listening to horror stories on my headphones. Irony, right? The specific story was about a woman being followed. So when I got off, I lowered the volume and became hyper-aware. The final stretch of my walk takes me past a few stores before a dark residential dead-end with terrible lighting. I passed a Popeyes and debated grabbing mac and cheese. Decided against it, kept walking, then changed my mind and turned back. That's when I noticed him, the man from the bus. The second I turned around, he froze. Stopped dead in his tracks. Just stared at me with wide eyes. I went into Popeyes anyway. They were practically out of food, so I left after a minute. Halfway down the block, I saw him again, standing right at the entrance to my dark street. Waiting. My pace slowed. I called my brother, a miracle, because he never answers. The second I said, "I'm by Popeyes," he said, "I'm coming." Knowing he was on his way, I turned down that dark street and passed the man. And then I heard footsteps behind me. He started walking too, matching my pace. Then he whispered, "I love you," followed by more mumbled words I couldn't make out. I made a decision. I'd rather be somewhere with light. So I walked back to the store area and waited outside a liquor store. I recognized some of the regulars who hung around, but that night, no one familiar. Then he approached me. Kept asking if I needed help. Kept insisting he could assist. Kept moving closer. I said no, loudly, repeatedly. If he genuinely wanted to help, he'd have backed off. But he didn't. Then I noticed his hands. He was wearing latex gloves. It wasn't cold. It was post-COVID, so my brain went, if you're that cautious, where's your mask? The gloves looked completely out of place. He kept saying I needed to go home, like he was trying to pressure me into walking past him again. He finally walked into the liquor store. The second he moved deeper inside, I turned the corner, and there was my brother. The whole thing lasted maybe 5 minutes. But it felt like a lifetime. Encounter 3, the scream in the night. This one still haunts me. A couple years ago, when I was 19, now I'm almost 26, I lived in a relatively large city in southern Europe. My neighborhood was quiet, safe, boring even. Small houses, residential buildings, nothing sketchy. I knew all my neighbors. I always felt safe. Back then, my life was a loop. Lectures, studying, sleep, repeat. I had no free time. But one Friday, my parents left town to visit relatives. They'd be gone all weekend. Which meant, I had the house to myself. So I invited friends over for Saturday. We'd order food, play games, catch up. Perfect. But I'd forgotten something. Friday evening was the annual geography quiz at my university. I'd promised my peers I'd go. Plus, I'm good at quizzes. Won't lie about that. The night went great. My team of 6, 10 teams total, packed student hall, free food and drinks. We finished second. Took photos, celebrated, and then it was time to head home. I caught the last subway. Our system doesn't run all night, which sucks, got off at my station, and started the 10-minute walk home. Early October, chilly air, I was tired. All I wanted was microwave noodles and bed. Then I heard it. The loudest, most blood-curdling scream I've ever heard in my life. A man's scream. Like he was being dismembered. Excruciating pain. I stopped dead. Looked around. The whole street was silent. Not a single light on in any house. Then another scream. This time, I could pinpoint the direction. It was coming from toward my house. I rushed. Not running, but walking as fast as I could, constantly looking over my shoulder, listening for any movement. As I turned the corner near my house, I saw them, a group of 4 or 5 people in the distance. Maybe 200 yards away. The second they spotted me, they started running toward me. My instincts took over. I ran. My house was between us but closer to me. I reached my front door, fumbled with my keys, and dropped them on the ground. Like a bad movie. I scooped them up. Before unlocking, I glanced back. The men were homeless-looking, dirty, ripped clothes. I knew I'd done the right thing. I got inside, locked the door, and stood in the dark, listening. My heart was pounding. I kept waiting for them to break in. Nothing. Complete silence. After a few minutes, I peeked through the window. No one. Checked the kitchen window. Empty street. Just wind and tree branches. I called 112. Explained everything, the screams, the chase. The dispatcher wasn't helpful. Kept asking if I knew the people who chased me. Since I wasn't hurt, there wasn't much they could do. But she said they'd send a patrol car. About 15 minutes later, I saw a police cruiser slowly pass my house. I finally tried to sleep. The next morning, I brushed it off. My best friend came over. I mentioned what happened briefly, joked about it, but I could see he was concerned. My parents called. I told them everything was fine. I'd tell them when they got home. That night, I double-checked all the doors and windows. Put on a movie, started relaxing. Bang. A loud noise from outside. Sounded like someone threw a rock at the house. I turned off the TV and listened. Silence. I didn't know what games were being played, but fear was turning into anger. I peeked through my second-story window. Everything looked normal. I stayed awake as long as I could, but around 4 a.m., I passed out. I woke up to my parents getting home around noon. I finally told them everything. They were terrified, but relieved I was okay. We installed security cameras a week later. Nothing similar ever happened again. But I never got answers. Who was that screaming man? Was he a victim? Or was the scream itself a trap, designed to lure someone closer so the group could corner them? And that bang on the second night? Was it my imagination, or was someone still out there? These experiences changed me. I'm more careful now, day or night. I don't go out alone late unless I absolutely have to. The world can turn dark in an instant. Trust your instincts. Keep something on you for protection. And if something feels wrong, it probably is. Stay safe out there.